and welcome back to another video. If you're new here today, then hello and welcome. Today it's a little bit of a different setup. We are seeing this wall from a different angle. So before I was facing this way. This has always been there, surprisingly, and I've just moved some of the stuff up here so that it's a little bit less cluttered on the workstation because before it was all here. So now it's all behind me back here and I can just grab it when needed, and it's not like everything up in my business in the way. So it's a lot more free, spacious. I can move. And of course, we've still got little fellows hanging about here and there. So with all that said, I hope you like the new background. And if you don't, I do. So that's all that matters. So today we are doing some super cute summer nails, and we're going to do Lilo and Stitch. Very Hawaii, you know, what does he say? Ohana. Ohana means family, and family never gets left behind, something like that. So we're going to do Lilo and Stitch. I've sketched it up in my little book of my idea of what we're going to do. So let's get into the video. Okay, so I've prepped and buffed all of the nails. So I've just gone on with a buffing block and a normal nail file just to remove the nib off the bottom of the nails. And now we can get on with putting the base down. So we're going to start off with the background and working our way forward to the foreground. And we'll do that on one nail. Otherwise, things might get a little bit boring if you see me doing the same step over and over and over again. So let's get on and do our background for this nail. Okay, so first of all, I'm going in with 327 from the Beetles gel polish range, and it's this coral colour. I totally covered the nail. Now I'm going in with 337 in the yellow, and I'm just adding that just above the halfway line and below, and just to kind of make that sunset colour on the nail. I just want to add also here that I'm not sponsored by Beetles at all. I just really like their product. It's the polish that I always use in all of my videos, if you were wondering. So now I'm going in with a fine detailing brush and just softening that edge up. I'm going to keep it really wishy-washy in the background. So now moving on to the clouds, I'm going in with this purpley blue periwinkle colour for the bottom part of the clouds. And while those are still wet, you don't want to cure it. So while wet, I'm going in with another colour to then graduate that on. As you'll see here, I'm going in with a more lilac colour, a very soft pastel-y purple, and just stippling that colour into the previous colour. And then just leaving it, and they will bleed together, and that really helps get that soft effect. So if you're wanting to get like a really easy blend, you can just leave the two colours wet, stipple them a little bit, and then just let them sit and they will start to bleed together. So now I'm going in with a more pinker colour for the top of the clouds. And as you will see in a little while, I will go back and add a little bit more definition to the clouds as they were a little bit too soft for the background. So I'm just keep on adding that pink colour onto the nails. And here we are now going on to doing the sea. So I'm going in with a really dark but sheer blue from the Beetles gel polish range. And I wanted to use the sheer one just so that I could build it up and get a little bit more depth to the nail. So while it's still wet, I went in with a lighter blue as well. Here it is. And just keep on adding that and layering it up. So here I am now going in with a white and the polish is still wet, so they can bleed together and blend. It definitely helps out, but obviously if you're wanting to build up more colour, you are going to have to cure it and then go in and add the other colours to get them to bleed together. So here we are now doing the sand on the beach, and I'm using this really nice nude colour from the Beetles gel polish range and just filling out the total bottom half of the nail for the sand. And I've done this on all the other nails. As I said at the beginning, I'm only going to show you this one nail for the background, otherwise things will get pretty repetitive. So now I'm going in with a slightly darker nude colour and just adding a little bit more depth to the sand, and I decided to kind of make some sort of like sand dune sort of effect on the nail. And here I am going in again, doing that stippling effect that I done on the clouds and also for the water, and just keep on going back and forward and blending your colours until you're happy with the outcome. It does take some time off back and forward with colours and moving them and manipulating them around, but as long as you're there to get the job done, it comes out great. And once you're finally happy with how it's turned out, then you can go ahead and cure. So in a second, you'll see that I have jumped ahead. I did go and finish off a little bit of, there you go, a little bit more detailing on it just to make it more crisp. So here we are now going in and doing a palm tree, just peeking in from the left of the nail. So that's the trunk of the palm tree going in. And then I went ahead and cured that for only 30 seconds as it's such a small area. And now going in, adding the detail of it. And this will need curing again because they will bleed together, and you only need to cure this for 15 to 20 seconds. If it's just a very small area and you haven't got that much gel, you don't need to wait for 60 seconds for it to cure. So I'm going in with a light green, and I will be adding other shades of the green. And this is why I love Beetles gel polish, is that they have every shade of every colour. So you won't find yourself having to do much mixing at all with this gel range, because they just have it all there for you. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of mixing to get the colour you want, but it's very rare that you have to do that. So I went ahead and cured that, and then going in and doing the fine detail work with a very fine brush. And that is also what I recommend getting if you're wanting to do more fine detailing work. Get yourself the smallest brush that you can. It will really help. I'm very picky about the brushes that I choose. Okay, so that's all the background done. So now we can get on and start adding the characters onto the nail. So for the first character, I'm going to do Stitch. So if you're new, you won't know this, but if you've seen my videos before, you know I always go in with a white and map out the character or whatever I'm wanting to do in white, just to kind of figure out where I want it on the nail. And also, you might have noticed that the background is looking a little bit more dull. That's because I went in with a matte top coat so that it's easier to apply the gel onto the nail so it doesn't slip and slide around too much. And the great thing about doing that, if you cure it, you can, while mapping it out, if it's not right, you could just wipe it away, start again, and your background isn't ruined. So now going in with a baby blue, and it was the perfect colour for Stitch, and just filling him in all the areas for all of his colours that he's needed. So when doing his arm here, I was going a little bit slow because I was looking at the reference photo,
and he's got a little bit of a wibbly wobbly arm. He's got quite a big forearm. So I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's odd. I'd never noticed that before. So that's the one thing that happens when you're, when you're drawing in general or doing any sort of art. If you're looking at a reference photo, you'll notice things that you haven't noticed before, and you'll be like, didn't notice that he had massive forearms. So all the colours are laid down, and now I'm going in with a fine detail brush and some black and doing the outline and bringing him all together. Doing his little tufties on his head. And then bringing that down, and he's got some wrinkles just above his nose, so adding those in there. And now doing his eye. I've got to say, I do love Stitch. He is very, very, very cute. Don't be surprised, if I do other Stitch nails in the future. It's going to happen. He's a cutie. We're definitely going to be doing some more different style nails in the future for Stitch. And now doing his little hula skirt as he's dancing away on the beach. This is a very tropical summer nail set, and I'm loving it. So filling in that green, and I go in with a darker green just to give it a little bit more definition. So here I'm just plotting in where I want the leaves to fall and what way they're going to sway, and how his legs poking out between them. So I'm just figuring that out at the moment. And here we are going in with the darker green and adding that in for a little bit more definition and shading. And that was cured, and now we can go on and add in the detailing work of it. As I've said before in other videos, this is my favourite part, is doing the outline of the nails. It really just brings it to life. Like before that, it's kind of like there's, that saying of there's method to the madness, because it can look a bit messy on some of them to begin with. Okay, so here we are doing his little leg poking out of his little hula skirt, and gonna add on his little toes, and these toes were really, really small. I'm gonna need a magnifying glass next time. So there they are, adding on the little toenails. Okay, so that's all done, and for the last part of this nail I decided to add a little extra to the bottom of the nail as it was looking a bit empty and a bit bare. So I decided I'm going to add a flower here and add some leaves and foliage around the bottom of the nail, just to give it that little bit extra of, Hawaii and tropical and summery vibes. And again, I only cured that for a very small amount of time, and then went in with the black detailing to finish that off. So this flower, I didn't 100% know how I wanted it to be. I was kind of just winging it. I wasn't working from a reference photo. I think if I was working from a reference photo, you would definitely be able to tell that it was one of those lei flowers that they put around your neck when you enter Hawaii. But from memory, I couldn't get it. So that's how that looks. Just adding a little bit of white to the flower, because I remember them having quite a few colours to it. And now that nail is pretty complete. I just decided now just to add a little bit of shadowing under Stitch to give it a little bit more definition on the sand, as it was looking a bit bare. So then I went ahead and cured that for a full 60 seconds and now adding the top coat. And there we have it. The stitch nail is done. He's super cute. I love him. And now moving on to the next, of course, we're doing Lilo, as you would have seen from the thumbnail. I've already gone ahead and mapped her out, as you've already seen me do it with the stitch. You kind of get the idea of what we're doing and the reasonings behind it. So now we're just filling her in with the colours that she requires. And with this part, you're definitely going to want to cure this amount of gel for 30 to 60 seconds. If you were to do any less than that, you could potentially get rippling in your nail and bubbling. And when you've done this much work on the nail, you don't want that. So it's best to cure for longer if you've put a thicker layer down. If, as I said, if it's just a thin little stroke, a little brush of some gel, then that can be just cured in 10 to 15 seconds. Okay, so that's all done. So now I'm going in with her hair, and I was definitely following the reference photo on this. As you can see, I'm a little hesitant of where to put this black. So we're just working around that, kind of figuring out how her hair is laying. As again with the stitch nail, there's things that I notice that I didn't know before. As you'll see a little bit further on, she has a parting in her hair that's quite bumpy. It's yeah, quite a bumpy parting, so I didn't realise that before. So there's her shoulder there as she's dancing. She's bringing her arm up and giving her shoulder a bit of a pop, and her hair is just falling behind that. So down it goes, and I noticed there she has a little split in her hair, a little notch, and then going in and filling in the rest of her hair. Okay, because she has a little flower in her hair, I had to put that on, but I definitely messed up right about in a second. It's going to happen. I messed up right there. The gel went right the way across to the other petal, but it's okay. You can always cure it and then go back in with a fine detailing brush and add your pink over the black and redo it. Or I could have just wiped it away at this point and restarted it, but it's okay. Whatever way works. If you make mistakes with gel, there's always a way around on fixing it. So now doing the other side of her hair. And there we are with the wonky parting. I definitely didn't realise that before. And just jumping forward a little bit, because that hand that's poking out right now with the leaves around it, that took me a minute to figure out. So to spare you the agony of me going in, not touching the nail with the brush, then pulling the brush away, then going back in again, not touching the nail, pulling the brush away, umming and ahhing of where I'm going to place this nail or where to place this hand, sorry. So now going in and doing her face, and this was also a challenge in itself because this nail is very small. So just adding in her mouth and her eyebrows. I got to say that her eyes were definitely the hardest, as she's got very distinct shaped eyes, and it was very hard to kind of get that in there and get it right. But I did what I could. I tried my best. So here I am adding in the whites of her eyes, and then I will be going in with black afterwards. I just find it easier this way because if you do the outline first, I find it quite hard to add, you know, the white within that. It will flood and this, that and the other, so I find it much easier to be more precise doing the outline rather than the filling. So here I am doing her other little dancing hand. She's got her hand out to the side doing the hula dance. And we're now adding the green leaves onto her hula skirt, the same as Stitch. Another thing I realised is that she is wearing an underskirt under her hula leaves, which is very sensible of her. I'd probably do the same if I ever decided to do some hula dancing one day. So I added that in and make sure I kept that space for that underskirt to show. And here I am now adding in the detailing work. I'm just popping her hand in there. And now adding in the detail on the skirt. Leaf by leaf, we get there. So I just wanted to get them kind of like swishing and going different ways to add some movement to show that she's shaking her hips, doing the hula dance. So getting all the leaves to kind of go one way and the other. And just adding a little bit more black here just to give it a little bit more definition. And there we are, just adding the little white sparklies onto her eyes. And just adding in some final last minute finishing touches onto Lilo. And then again, exactly the same as the Stitch nail, I decided to add some foliage to the very bottom of the nail just to give that area of sand something a little different because it's very blank at the bottom. So going in with 2 different shades of green just to add a little bit more difference to it. And then I went ahead and cured that, and now the top coat is going on. And I am not stingy with my top coat. I go through top coat like there's no tomorrow. Okay, so I cured that for 60 seconds and she is done. And there is all the set together and finished.
And that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comment section which nail was your favourite. Was it Lilo or was it Stitch? I kind of like the both of them. I'm happy with how they turned out. If you did like it, please do leave a like, and if you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe also, and don't forget to turn on that bell notification button so that you don't miss the next upload. I'll see you next time. Happy creating. Bye.